Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning, and today we've got another really interesting combination with a new load to the market for this spring and a surprisingly good performing stock choke and shotgun combination. So putting the two of them together, I don't know how it's going to perform, but I expect that it should give us a pretty decent pattern. But as for the shells I brought out here today, I got out some of these, the new Winchester Longbeard TSS shells, but these are the 410 3-inch 13/16 ounce payload of TSS 9s, moving about 1100 feet per second. Now we have tested these new Longbeard TSS shells in pretty much all the gauges, and they've shown to be some pretty impressive performers most of the time. Now we have tested these 410 variants one time before through a true lock choke, and it was a decent pattern from what I can remember, but I think it needed a little bit of fine tuning, and maybe that choke combo is the one we've got out here today. And as for today's setup, I brought out my Mossberg 500 410. This one has a 24-inch barrel on it, but for the choke, I've got the stock extra full turkey choke that came with the gun in here today. This particular one measures out at a 380 constriction, so a little bit on the tighter end for a 410 choke, but for a stock choke, it has been a very reliable, very consistently impressive performer, which kind of is the common thing when it comes to stock Mossberg turkey chokes in general. Either way, this choke is a little more constriction at 380, and I know it's a good performer with TSS 9s, so can a stock choke actually give us a really impressive pattern with these new Longbeard TSS shells? There's definitely a good possibility of it. But as for today's test, everything is set up the same as usual. The turkey paper's at 40 yards, and I've got the chronograph so we can get our velocity from the shells. So let's get you guys a view of that target and see how the Longbeard TSS 9s can do through the Mossberg 500 with the stock 380 extra full turkey choke. Alright, that shell gave us 1177 through the chrono. The boss claim is 1100, but I believe the last time we tested these shells, they were mid 1100s, so it just kind of seems like they run a little bit quicker than box claim, but we're still not pushing them too fast or anything like that. So looking pretty normal for a velocity up here for these shells. What kind of a pattern did they give us through that stock 380 choke down there at 40? Let's go check it out and see. Alright, so now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and right off the bat, yes, we do have a dead turkey. There are multiple right through the brain around the eyeball there, and a couple more down the spine that would have absolutely gotten you that bird all day long. Now, our pattern might have favored a touch to the right on this one, but even if it was centered up and moved over to the left a couple of inches, we do have a decent looking core. If we were to put a 10-inch circle around that right there, which I'll probably do in editing so you guys can see a little better, you would have a pretty even spread of them throughout there, and there would be nowhere that bird could move to and get away from you. Now, is it the tightest overall pattern that we've seen out of a 410 or out of that particular stock choke? Definitely not. Is it good enough to get the job done every time at 40 yards for you? Yeah, for sure, it definitely is. But it is a little bit uneven and a little sporadic, especially around the edges. Mainly over here on the right, you can see we have a bunch of little stringy stuff and a few flyers up there at the top with a little bit of a void area right over here before we get into some more flyers on the far right edge. And we do have some more little flyers around the bottom edge and the left edge over there. So it's definitely not perfect once you get outside of that initial 10-inch circle. So was that stock 380 just a little bit too tight for these? Potentially so, if the outskirt edges of our pattern are looking sporadic like that, but we have a pretty even core. That is a possibility. Maybe these prefer a little bit more of an open choke, which I do have several chokes from this 380 all the way up to a 391, so we're definitely going to figure out what these like and don't like. Now, is this a terrible 410 pattern? Definitely not. We've seen way worse, and I can tell you right now that out of the shells on the store shelf at a Cabela's or Bass Pro or anything like that, these are probably gonna be the number 2 performer behind the Herder shells, which are also made by Winchester. I can tell you from experience, the Federals and the Remingtons are definitely gonna be worse than this. The Brownings can be as good as this, but they can also be a little bit inconsistent. So these are a decent option if you can find them for a good deal, which I think there are some good prices going around right now for these being like $30 a box or something like that. But I do think the Herder shells are better. I definitely think we can get better out of them, but if that's what I had, then I wouldn't hesitate to turkey hunt with it. So now we just got to run them through some of those other chokes and see if we can even our pattern up just a little bit. So not terrible for today's pattern, but I don't think it's 100% perfect either, although it is more than good enough and more than capable enough to take out on a 40-yard turkey hunt. And here's the wad from that shell. Really standard 410 equipment here, but it opened up kind of funky. We had one pedal peel open a lot farther than the other two, but there's no damage or anything to it. There's nothing stuck down in there, which is good to see for a 410 shell, because sometimes we get pellets stuck down in the wad, but nothing really too fancy to see or too special to take note of other than that one pedal. Otherwise than that, it seems to be just about normal for going through that tighter 380 constriction choke. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about that performance right there? I'd say that's a pretty decent pattern. It's not the best we've seen from that exact shotgun and choke combination. Is it going to get you the turkey at 40 yards every time through that combo? Yes, you're going to be just fine. But do I think we could still get a little bit better out of it? Yeah, I do. We don't have a bad core there. It's not the tightest we've seen, but it's a pretty even spread throughout the middle 10 inches of it there. Now, outside of that, we do get a little bit sporadic. We have a handful of flyers and several little splotchy areas that I think we should be able to tune in with the right choke combo. So maybe these prefer just a little bit more of an open choke. I don't know yet, but it's not a terrible pattern all things considered. And for being a straight off the store shelf load, a lot of the other options out there are worse than that by a long shot. Really, I think the herder shells are probably the only standard off the store shelf load that can reliably beat that as of right now, at least so far in my testing with these Longbeard shells. So not terrible today, but not perfect either, that's for sure. But leave all your thoughts down in the comments. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these new Winchester Longbeard TSS shells or the 410 variant of them? And if so, what kind of results have you seen? Is that a pattern you would hunt with? Or is it a little bit too on the splotchy side for you? And what other choke combos do you want to see us run those shells through? I've got a number of other ones and a couple new ones on the way, so let me know what you guys want to see. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All the information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.